How's it going so far? Good end of the day?
Oof, yeah, it's been a really busy one. Really busy in the office. But generally, yeah, pretty
Nice.
good. How about you? How are
Cool.
you guys? Well, just woken up, so
Very, yeah, pretty good so far. Been a but productive week. So the kind of weeks that I think are pretty typical but enjoyable. So no complaints on my end at all.
just gotta wait a couple more minutes for some people to turn up, I think. Uh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. People usually trickle in over a couple minutes and then we can get started whenever. I guess as a reminder for anyone's here, if you haven't already asked a question in either the Panzerdogs Discord or ours, there will be an opportunity to ask your questions live here. So start thinking about anything, and we'll bring some folks up towards the end to ask any questions.
Yeah, we've gotten quite a few from our community that we'll cover in a bit, I'm sure.
Sweet, very excited. Yeah, I saw some of the questions that were being asked. Um, will be a good discussion. Looking forward to it. See, yeah, just make sure I'm adding everyone up here. All right, well, let me know once you guys want to get started. I'm sure people kind of come and go a bit in the middle of this as well, but whenever y'all are feeling it, we can kick things off. Yeah, let's get started. Super excited to start. Cool.
We
Well,
should oh, go
oh,
ahead.
I was gonna say we can start off with some brief introductions, if you'd like, or if you have something else in mind, we can start with that.
Uh yeah, sure. I guess we can go ahead with that. Do you wanna go ahead first, Haji?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Sergey. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Lucky Cat, the development studio behind Panzerdogs. And yeah, Panzerdogs is an online PvP tank brawler built on Solana. We have the coolest NFTs out there. We currently have a really cool tournament going on together with Fractal. We're super excited to host this event together with them. So far, it has been great, and we should really talk more in detail about that. But yeah, so that's me.
My name's Henry. I'm a game developer and principal game designer on Panzerdogs. Uh, yeah, if you have any very specific questions about the game or mechanics or ins and outs of development, you can point them directly to me.
Hi, I'm Arjan, and I'm the main blockchain developer of Panzerdogs. So I know all the ins and outs of smart contract development on Solana and yeah, the smart contracts on Panzerdogs as well.
Awesome. And I'm Chase. For folks who don't know, I host
pretty much all of our events. I spend most of my time on our socials, and I'm just excited to get to chat with the team a little bit more. I know that like you brought up, probably the thing that a lot of people are aware of, or if they're not aware of, should be aware of and curious about, is the ongoing tournament. Pretty substantial prize pool, $2,500. And it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, we just had one of the leaderboard resets, so folks have another opportunity to show up on the front page of Fractal and test their luck or skills at getting a bit of that prize pool. Would anyone like to just kind of give a quick outline for anyone who's not super familiar with the game or this tournament, how they can participate and get a share of that? Yeah, you want to go ahead, Henry, or should I?
Yeah, I was going to go. Yeah, so we're running a tournament at the moment. You get points for kills and damage and stuff in game. 100 points equals 1 ticket. And also you get bonus tickets for your position in the leaderboard. And then at the end of the competition, we'll be drawing 45 prizes out of the pool. So the more tickets you have, the higher chance you have of winning. The game itself, should have started with that actually, is a PvP tank brawler. It's online, real time. You got like lots of cool, crazy weapons, and you can build yourself a cool tank out of non-fungible fungible parts to create a non-fungible tank. Yeah, it's really exciting. Each part has different influences on stats and the gameplay and the way your play style will be. It's very cool. I implore you to check it out. It's we have some really cool stuff in the works as well. So yeah, check out our white paper.
It's definitely kind of set the bar for myself. So I was very skeptical at first for a lot of the Web3 quote unquote games that were coming out, because a lot of them were really, really simple, if non-existent. And I think that Panzerdogs does a great job at having a unique game that is implemented in a way that does not just make it seem like, we decided to develop this on the blockchain because we could make more money from it. The game is really smooth and polished, and there's a lot of customization and different ways that you can play. And I think that you all have obviously done an excellent job getting everything getting everything created in such a way that it is actually enjoyable to play, and not just another let me purchase this because there's an NFT involved and I want to get I want the potential for the money of NFTs. I'm curious, throughout this tournament, I'm not sure how closely y'all have been paying attention. I know I've played a little bit, not nearly as good as most of the folks in your community. If anybody's been coming up with any sort of interesting strategies or unique play styles that you've seen that have either surprised you or have started to kind of shift how far folks are approaching the game in a little bit more of a competitive sense.
Yeah, we've seen some interesting like stealth builds appear where people are playing a lot more in the grass, especially in combination with like one of the main chassis that we have for one of our tanks called the Spartan chassis, because it lets them fight for a bit, brawl around, take some damage, and then duck back into cover to let their shield regenerate. Yeah, especially in combination with the sneaky tracks, it lets them be like extremely survivable, despite not really having much extra health. In fact, they have less total health in total, but they survive longer. I found that really, really, really satisfying to know that people were really utilizing the mechanics that we've put into the game.
Yeah, and what I also have seen is that we have a new map called Astro, and what's very interesting to see is that we have a new weapon. If you go all the way down in Astro, there's a new weapon which is a machine gun, and you can definitely see, though there's not matchmaking, but like I was in one of the matches where with a team member, we're just trying to protect that area and trying to get that machine gun as much as possible in order to attack the enemies with that machine gun, because it's so powerful. And I think we have matchmaking on the planning, obviously, but like this is just very interesting to see, like, though there's no communication between all the team members, there's still sort of like a dynamic slash strategy that people are trying to help each other and, you know, getting the most out of each map or weapon, you know?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see people using that machine gun. They usually use it to like lock down doorways or entry points to certain areas so they can hold positions for longer periods of time. Right at the start of matches, that bottom section on Astro gets really chaotic because everyone's diving to try and grab that machine gun right away at the start. And if you get it, you're a powerhouse for a little while. So that's really compelling. So speed-based builds can really benefit from getting in there quick, but generally speaking, the faster you are, the more fragile you are. So there's a lot of a trade-off there. So you can get the weapon, but you probably won't be able to hold it for very long. It's very exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's super cool to see things like that. And I think that kind of brings me to one of the things that I saw some folks in our Discord actually ask about is a more general sense of how are you able to keep tabs on things like that, as well as the, you know, obviously there's very different parts of customization and stats to have. How are you able to get tabs on it to ensure that, you know, balance is you know, existent, and it doesn't feel like it's unfair for someone to have a particular build or able to, you know, get the machine gun, for example? How are you able to make sure that it's still an experience that is fair for folks, and, you know, how do you keep tabs on that? Because I know that this is not one of the games that is frustrating to play. I feel like a lot of games, when there's not balance, it's quite obvious and quite miserable. And I think the team has, you know, done a great job keeping things in line with being accessible, but, you know, there's still varying levels of skill. But I'm curious, how do you continue to keep that high quality?
So it's two layers really. We take a lot of community feedback, so there's a lot of direct back and forth that we hear from our community members, and it really does shape the way that we balance the game. But in combination of that, we also have a lot of data gathering. So in the sense of like it's totally anonymized data, and we see it as like general win rates and such for certain weapons and certain builds. And yeah, that really does influence the way that we balance the game, because we're able to see like directly which parts are doing better in certain ways, and then seeing how the community responds to certain feedback that we propose. Yeah, it's been quite a reciprocal relationship, really. Well, we'll put up proposals, and the community will talk about them and discuss them, and generally speaking, they're quite well received because they come from them as well. So, yeah, it's always been one of our main goals to not have a pay-to-win game. We always wanted to maintain balance, and I think it's critically important, like for the success of a game, that everybody can have fun no matter how much they get invested. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome and really quite topical, just in the, not even just in the sense of Web3, but in games in general. I don't know how much folks have been paying attention, but I'm sure folks have at least seen some of the criticism with the new Diablo game, and I think it was like $110,000 it would cost to create the or to purchase like the most geared character that you can do, and you could get it right away. And that is obviously not, you know, what the core of gaming is. Gaming is really about enjoyability and having a great time. So I think it's great that you guys have such an open dialogue with your community, and folks are able to, you know, see the feedback that they give you implemented into the game, or understand why it's not implemented, because I think that you know, that continues to poise you as a leader in the space, not just Web3 games or Solana games, but games in general. I think that's the direction that things are going to continue to shift to, as you know, quote unquote smaller studios and folks are able to raise funding in a very direct way from community members, like through NFTs. And I think that, you know, having locked that down already and established yourselves in that way is only going to continue to serve the project in its longevity. I know that we had a couple of questions already prepared from the community, and one of them, a couple of them actually were around the mobile version of the game. So I'd love to kind of dive in there if you all don't mind. It looked like one person was curious specifically about how you think the mobile version of the game is going to onboard new players. I know personally, I was shocked to find out recently that mobile gaming, like by numbers, is actually dominating console and PC games as far as like active users across all titles. So I'm curious how you guys are approaching that, and what you kind of expect to see the impact on your community with the mobile version.
Yeah, we've got a lot of experience with delivering mobile games. We've been doing it for a long period of time before we entered the space. So we're very comfortable with deploying that and doing first-time user experiences, which is what we call onboarding. We're pretty good at it, we think. We've got a lot of practice, so we're not too worried about getting new players on board, and we definitely aim to give them the best experience they can getting into the game. We don't want people to be frustrated, obviously. We want everyone to have a great time, and I think we definitely have the capacity to deliver that.
Yeah, and also I also think it makes sense that there's like a much more activity on mobile than console or PC, because like everyone has has a mobile device in their pocket, right? So it's mobile, so it makes much more sense that that player base is much larger, and in that sense, we, as Henry mentioned, we are very comfortable being in that space, and we believe once we actually go on mobile, there's going to be hyper growth in our community, right? Because at the same time, marketing or word of mouth or getting installs on mobile is actually much easier, especially because it's a free to play game with play and earn mechanics, basically. So in that sense, we think the player base will grow significantly once we actually go on mobile, and having the experience of making I think we have 20 plus mobile games with over 200 million downloads as well. We are very data driven, and in the sense that we use data to actually improve the experience of the user. We really believe that mobile is the next step for us, and we want to make sure that that happens in a very good way.
Absolutely, yeah. Go ahead.
I also want to compliment Fractal for the Fractal wallet. I mean, it's I think it's also very mobile friendly, since the user only has to log in with their social. And I leave it up to you guys to announce any new features for the Fractal wallet. But I think it's very user friendly, so that definitely helps a lot as well.
Yeah, and those non-custodial wallets in general, I think, are going to be really, really key. Really, really key in getting a lot of users on board. Like, nobody wants to sit there and go through this arduous process of installing a wallet and then setting it all up just to play a game. You kind of want to just have a standard, clean user experience, and I think you can really deliver that using custodial wallet systems like this.
Right. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it. Can't take any of the credit for it, but absolutely, we think it's critical to just, like you said, make the experience as smooth as possible, and get folks into the game itself. Like, nobody who's downloading a new game wants to spend 10 or 15 minutes figuring out something that's completely separate from the game just to have a chance to get into the game. So I think that is absolutely critical. And I think your team experience obviously is insane, and it's one that I personally think that there's going to be a decent spike of users with the mobile release. Both folks that are already within this community, as well as others who just the convenience of it, because these games are not games like League of Legends or something where you're committing to like a 40-minute thing. You're able to spend a little bit less time and just pick it up and play, and I think that user experience is invaluable. I'm curious, when you do launch officially the mobile version, is there going to be cross-platform play? So are we going to see mobile users against PC users? And if so, is there any sort of balance concerns around that? Or how are you approaching making sure that, the experience is still enjoyable across various platforms?
Yeah, it's a good question. So at the moment, crossplay is going to be enabled by default. So we'll have to work to disable it if we don't want it. It's really hard to tell at the moment. Obviously, because we're so data driven, we need to actually see whether these things work or not. Like whether it's fair, whether people are actually having a good time playing against PC players, or PC players are having a good time playing as mobile players. So it'll wait until after we've had some testing period before we just make a decision about whether they will be forced into their own platforms or not. But yeah, we're open to both options. Like neither is locked away from us. There's nothing that stops us from doing one way or the other. We just have to see what works.
Awesome. That's good to hear. I think that the initial response to things like that is usually so concrete, like, oh, we've already decided this and we're not going to make a change to it, and then people do end up having to rethink things. And I think that having a flexible idea of what's going to happen and being prepared for both, and aware of what folks may want and taking that feedback into consideration is just amazing. And so I want to applaud the whole team for that. And speaking of the mobile version being a way to continue to increase the player base and the exposure for the game, it looked like we had a question from your community of folks wondering, how can the community help continuing to onboard new players? I think, folks who are fans of the game obviously want to see more people be fans of the game and enjoy the thing that they love so much. And it looks like they want to know, how can they help out with growing numbers?
Yeah, I think that's a great question too. For now, especially when we're in alpha season, we shipped actually very fast, right? Like we released the NFTs, the original collection, in December. We had only a demo, which did have the NFT integration, or you could import your NFTs and play sort of like with it. But we've actually just released the alpha build in February, right? So that's just a couple of months way back. So for now, it's actually great to test it in smaller groups and look at the data and how everyone plays, and test out the maps that we have and all the statistics on the tanks, and still design sort of like design the game forward. And obviously, it does help when people talk about Panzerdogs online. They share it, stream it, or talk about it. Especially when we do like these kind of tournaments, it will get much more word of mouth out there. So we definitely want to ask people or the community to invite their friends to play in this tournament. But we are also very very keen on moving to mobile. That's why mobile is such a high priority, because it's it's where we are comfortable with. And for us, doing user acquisition on mobile is also where we're very comfortable with. And we believe, like, once we have the mobile version in place, we can go into stuff like hyper growth. But at the same time, it's very important for us that the initial data, the things that we've tested, are solid and that people really enjoy the game. That's just the most, let's say, priority to us, like that people enjoy the game. And we have a principle, which is gameplay first, then blockchain. So that is the most important before we really scale up everything.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? Like, you don't want to be scaling up into an audience of people that aren't going to be enjoying the experience you've made for them. You want to make sure that what you have is going to nail it. Like, you want people to just have a fantastic time as soon as they get in. You don't want them having a terrible time after you've invested all of this effort into getting these users into your game. You want to make sure they're going to have a good time. So it pays to put the effort in to make sure everything's perfect.
Yeah, this is sort of like the same ideology that we've used for our mobile games, right? Like we've always tested in with smaller audiences or cohorts, basically. And once we know that the data looks good, that look at the data and see if people enjoy it, right? We have like playtime metrics or retention metrics, and if all of these metrics are aligned, then we know like, hey, it's time to scale up, because we know that the game, from a quality perspective, from a gameplay perspective, that people are enjoying the game, because it makes no sense right now, especially when you're in alpha build, to scale up a game, have hundreds of thousands of people play the game, because it's just not there yet, right? But we do want it to ship fast and see, collect as much feedback as possible. And this is like sort of the iterative play that we have. And products should, especially in the Web3, right? We have to make sure that you test out as soon as possible and constantly iterate on these different builds, these different versions that we put out there, and make sure that people, we keep improving the game until we see sort of like a certain benchmark that we know, like, okay, hey, now it's time to scale up the game.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's a great answer, and I think one of the things people don't realize often, because this space tends to move so quickly, is just how quickly your team has delivered so far, and how long it takes to build something that is high quality. If you want to rush something out and just have a quick playable demo and kind of leave it at that and never expand on the gameplay or the experience, then that's one thing. But I look at these projects that we're launching and is investing in builders themselves, and realizing that it's not too different from traditional games, looking for like pre-orders, except instead of just investing in something and knowing that you're going to get it eventually, you really get to be involved and part of the process from a very, very early standpoint. And I think that is super unique and really enjoyable, because you get to help shape what the game ends up looking like. If you pre-order the next Call of Duty or something, and then you have some feedback, 3 months after you're pre-ordering it, there's no chance that that's making it into the game. So having this longer kind of tail end to get the official game launched on various platforms, I think is super advantageous, and something that folks don't always consider as being intentional. And I really like how you guys are approaching being able to manage the number of folks that you have on right now, so that you can look at the data and understand what's working well and what's not, so that you're not insulting hundreds of thousands of people, because like we went over, user acquisition is not going to be a problem for you guys at all. You're very experienced in that, especially in the mobile market. And so I think that things are going to continue going up as time goes on, and for now, while you're building, it's great to be able to get that feedback, and also cool to hear that for some people who may think the numbers of users are all that matters, there's plans in place to make sure that continues to go up.
Yeah, I was going to make a remark a minute ago about what you said about our users, right? Where we're very aware that these people are extremely helpful to us, and it goes into how we're designing how the NFTs that they bought at the start are going to be used in the game. Like, we want to reward these people for putting in the effort to help us. We're very we're very thankful for the help that we're getting. It's very difficult to get this sort of thing on mobile usually without, say, something like just grabbing tiny amounts of users that don't really care about the project you're doing. They're sort of completely what's the word? They're completely anonymous. They come from anywhere. They'll come and go in like a day maybe. But having people that are emotionally and somewhat economically invested in your project is really helpful and really beneficial for us. And we really appreciate absolutely every bit of feedback that we get, because it's very difficult to get that otherwise. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and it's awesome. I think that community members feel like their opinion really matters, and obviously it really does. And I think that it's amazing for them to have continued access and see things that they're suggesting be implemented, or understand reasons why they're not going to be implemented, and that kind of leads me to I think the last question I've got from the community prepared already is someone had some questions around again increasing awareness for the game, and if updating the profile pictures would be a way to do so, thinking maybe new art could drive new people in. And I think I'm biased. I really love the the art style right now, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on updating things like that, or how you approach getting new eyes on it right now in a meaningful way.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that. I mean, we are biased too, obviously. But yeah, I mean, we are always open to ideas. But like I think the PFP sort of like actually already have, you know, proven themselves, because they were sold out in 50 minutes, and the PFPs were pretty much the main focus, once the project got released, right? So, and updating the PFPs will obviously require a lot of work, and I think in order to get more people playing the game, or getting them more aware of Panzerdogs, is actually deliver actually the actual gameplay, or like the final game that we have in mind, to the audience, because that's where it's really enjoyable. We want to spend our time mostly on that. And especially when you look at like the latest white paper update design that we have, which we explain, the benefits, the difference between the free to play player and holder, and their benefits. It's going to have a huge impact as well on, let's say, the popularity of the avatars, or the demand for the avatars as well, because it has a really big impact on the gameplay or game design, if you look at those different benefits. So, I mean, of course, anyone can make suggestions, and we're always open to feedback. But I think on the overall level, it's way more important that we as a team, deliver on the gameplay, on what we have in mind, and on the future, and that demand will rise for sure. When we deliver on in that aspect.
Yeah, it's also worth noting, like, we do have a lot of stuff in the works. Like, some stuff's really, really cool, that we haven't even teased even slightly yet. Like, as just like a little tiny teaser, we have a new game mode in the works at the moment, that is just not out yet. But we're really excited to give it to you, because we think it's going to drag a lot of people in. It's quite fun.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome to hear. I think that's one of the things people may forget as well at times, is not everything that's being worked on is public well in advance, and I think that it's easy to only see what is in front of you, and not necessarily be aware of, or even assume that things like that are in development. But I think that long-term fans of the game will never be disappointed with the things that are in store, and I'm not gonna push to try and get anything leaked here. I would highly encourage folks who aren't already in your Discord or following you all to do so, to be on the front lines and get the first bits of news as soon as they come out. And I know that we're already kind of coming up on the time. I've got a little bit of additional time, so I'm happy to kind of stick around and facilitate any sort of questions that folks in the audience may have. Now's your chance for anything really, really hard hitting, really fun. Just a random question about the weekend. It is an ask anything, after all. I know I have a personal question. I'm curious from each of you, what are you most excited about working on, you know, in the next 2 or 3 months? You don't have to leak anything that is, you know, not happening, but what's or that you don't want to, you know, share in advance yet. But you know, obviously, new game mode is super exciting.
Yeah, we got
What?
a. Oh,
Go for it.
sorry.
Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
we've got new game modes, new maps, new weapons. Like it's all very exciting stuff. All of it really shakes up the gameplay. And yeah, also some other pretty massive features that we just haven't even announced yet, and they're still kind of in a prototype phase, kinda. But yeah, they have pretty substantial impacts on the game, and we are so excited to start showing that stuff to you. So, well, at least me, we've been working on this in here for ages. We're never idle, so yeah, it's a little secret weapon we have up our sleeves.
That's awesome. I can't wait for it. We'll have to organize another tournament when there's these sweeping changes that are happening, and you know, make another big event out of it. I'm sure that nobody would be opposed to more opportunity to winning stuff, and maybe by that time I'll be decent enough at the game to have a chance to get a couple tickets.
Yeah, it's you really have to push to get those tickets. It's good fun though.
Yeah,
Anyone can get involved. You don't have to have NFTs in order to start earning tokens. It's we'll hand you a super basic tank before you can get into the game. So yeah.
I was gonna say it's interesting how great some people are without even expecting it. I know that, you know, I tried to get one of my friends to play, and you know, I told him that I wasn't great, and I figured he wasn't going to be great because I'd spent a little bit of time playing it, and he was immediately way better than I had been after playing it on and off for the last several months. And so I think it's really cool to see that there is not that same like barrier of entry that some games have, where it takes a really long time to figure things out. And I think that you know, it's just going to continue to be beneficial. Going back to that new user acquisition that I think a couple people were wondering about is it's the framework for having an enjoyable game with mass adoption is already there, and I think, you know, the team has been very intentional about how you're adding more users to it. So very exciting to hear just some of what's in store for the future. I guess I'll do a final call for anyone else that may have questions. But if folks don't have any sort of questions, do you have any sorts of final thoughts or final words that you want to leave folks with? Any call to actions aside from, if you're not already following the Panzerdogs Twitter and in the community, definitely get added, get joined in, and start participating and have your feedback heard. Let's see, I'm adding
Get signed up. Just hop over to our Twitter, go to our website, sign up, get involved. We have free tickets available for people for going through our Gleam campaign. Yep, you don't need to have an NFT to get involved in the competition. We're looking for players, so yeah, it's open to everyone. If you want to play, you can play. It's designed to be accessible, so anyone can pick up and play, but it's going to be very hard to master. And that's one of the things that we really push for. And there's quite a deep amount of game. The gameplay is quite deep, and it's we're so proud of it. We're so proud of it here.
Awesome, yeah. And I just invited Devmons up. How's it going? What do you have for the team?
Hey everybody, Dave from the Phones here. Thank you for inviting me. I have a quick few questions. The first one, I might have missed it, but have you already announced some approximate release date for mobile version?
So the idea is to begin testing this quarter. That'll probably be internal testing within our Discord members. We'll be giving out test flights and such. But yeah, the full release will most likely happen next quarter. Don't think it'll be that long though. We'll see.
All right, thank you. Another question is right now, we are, I don't know what you call it, guild or team or whatever, playing your game and a couple others. And my question is, right now the meta is you want to play against the bots more than against other people, because this way you have a higher chance to get the maximal possible points in tournaments. So this is what everybody who is trying to win is trying to queue, so he doesn't meet other players. It's pretty obvious, and we can't wait for the moment when you will be able to queue 3 versus 3. So if you have some plans approaching some guilds from GameFi industry or whatever to make them play your game or to introduce them to your game, and where is the plan for 3v3 mode, like where you will be able to queue with your 2 friends together?
Yeah, we have plans for supporting guilds. If you check our white paper, we have a section in there that talks about our renting system that we have, and that will be designed in order to accommodate guilds as best as possible. We do plan to have team up matchmaking, so you'll probably group in as a free. You probably won't be able to directly match up with another free, but yeah, we do have plans for allowing people to group up together, and some of the systems and stuff that we have in the future, especially with the game modes, will be designed around more competitive play. So yeah, we definitely want to be encouraging that. We're still very early though, so it's planned, but yeah, it'll take us some time.
All right, can't wait for it, because the meta, which parts will be the best will totally change, because something is effective against boss and something will be much more effective against another people. And the last question is for the Fractal guys. I haven't heard about you before this tournament, and I'm planning on doing some deep dive on your project. But since I have this opportunity, I will ask what actually is your project? What is your goal? Because for me, it looks like launcher, something like, I don't know, Steam or Battle.net for with free games on Solana, because you have their Aurora and Stepan and stuff like that. And I think it's really great because it makes it really easy for onboarding people who aren't like crypto natives, who are just gamers and want to play some NFT games. So I really like it if this is the purpose of your platform, or also like platform for tournaments and stuff like that. So like, what is your goal? What are you trying to do here?
Yeah, so Fractal is a launch pad specifically for gaming projects. Right now, we're only supporting Solana, but I think we've chatted about in the future, we'd like to support other blockchains. And so really, we're looking to create a hub for all games. And so we've hosted several tournaments, both with Web 2 and Web 3 games. Obviously, we're focused specifically on finding the next best games. They're Web 3 games we launched through our launch pad, and so you could look at what we do for games is kind of similar to other launch pads, in that we allow a platform to mint, but also provide a lot more in-depth and longer term support. So leading up to mint, helping out with the mint design, play testing games to find out if the games are things that folks are going to be interested in, or if there's any bugs or anything that we can assist with the developers figuring out how to fix, as well as providing Fractal Wallet, which is an alternative to like Phantom or another Solana wallet, where folks are able to sign up using their Discord or Gmail, rather than having to download a browser extension and save their their seed phrase separately and then retype it in to verify that they've got it and all that. And so really reducing the friction for folks who want to discover the next big games. And so right now we're focused specifically on Solana, and we're really invested and interested in the long-term success of games, like Panzerdogs and some other folks that we've had on our platform. But I think what mainly sets us apart from others is instead of just launching the game and then being done with that, here we are 6.5, 7 months after the Panzerdogs launch, still, working closely with the team, putting on events and chatting with them. Is when we partner with projects, we're partnering for life, because we do want Fractal to be a place that people come and think about play to earn, or playing just any new Web3 games, and we're trying to make that experience as easy as possible.
Okay, thank you. Great stuff. We'll definitely deep dive your project.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you showing up. It looks like we have one more person with a question. If folks over at Panzerdogs still have time, I'll bring them on up, and then we can kind of wrap things up.
Yeah, sure.
All right, NFT Shake, how's it going? They may have requested and stepped away, so we'll give them a second.
Hello? Hi.
Hello.
Oh, I'm back. For some reason it went on to mute. Sorry about that. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great. How's it going?
Okay, great. Yeah, fantastic. Thanks. So I'm a big fan of Fractal, big fan of Panzerdogs, and the approach. So I just want to say first of all, thanks so much for the AMA today. It's been brilliant. And yeah, thanks for answering all my questions. I feel like I unintentionally disrespected you a little bit with my questions about onboarding new players. I didn't realize that it was intentional to not have so many players right now. So that's great. That's really good to hear. I was just surprised that only 80 people had played it in this last session, the last 48 hours. Only 80 people played it. And I just think that's crazy because the game is so good. And I just thought more people need to come in. But if it's deliberate, that's absolutely fine. So thanks for explaining that. Another question I have is on the Panzer token. And I've seen with other projects where as soon as they launch the token, a lot of anyone who's got it sells it for USDC and the price crashes. Even with Solchix, they tried to vest it, but they didn't do it for very long. And as soon as the vesting period ended, the token crashed. Are you thinking about having a vesting period for the token?
Yeah, great question. It's good that you mentioned actually Solchix, because we have looked at their pitch deck / white paper as well, which is publicly available online. And I think the difference is that we with Panzerdogs we are in for the long term, the long term success of the game. And in our case, the vesting period is actually 6 years. And if you look at Solchix, I don't remember the exact number of what the vesting period is for Solchix, but it's a couple of months, and we are seeing 4 months exactly, yeah. Right? So what happens? Just to for the audience who maybe doesn't really understand what happens after vesting period. This actually means a vesting period is sort of like a lockup period, and if that lockup period ends, basically, any investor who had this token is free to sell their position in the market, and most of them will sell, right? So in that sense, you also have to think about, what can you build in 4 months? And especially in gaming, and as everyone can see, is that it takes a lot of time, resources, planning to build a game. It's just not, especially in like a game like Panzerdogs, which is also online. There's a back end. I mean, there's all vault integrations, there's game modes, and there's this whole blockchain integration as well. So what do you think as as an active investor, and if you look at other projects, like in 4 months, you're not able to build a complete product slash game, right? And that is why we have a much longer investing period, and we also have thought about like the cliffs, when the cliff happens, which means like the initial release of the tokens, and because you will have also like when the cliff happens, which means a percentage of the tokens get released at a certain point of time. um, um, Before that happens, you have to make sure that you have a large player base, or you have a much larger player base as well. And that is why, for example, that we are already planning to to move to mobile, because that is where we can scale up very fast. So all in all, there's a lot of planning involved, and obviously we are trying to refrain, to have people have tokens and immediately sell out in the market, because that's just short-term cash grab in our opinion, and we want to make a game. Our mission has always been to create a game that is gameplay first, where people can enjoy the game, and with a token that's that goes to zero, no one can basically enjoy the game, right? Because it's not, if it's $0, then there's no play to earn.
Exactly, that's really good to hear. I thought maybe a 4-year vesting period could be good, but 6 years, great. That's I think that's what it needs. I mean, I'm invested in Panzerdogs and several other play to earn games, and some of them I don't have any confidence in. But every time I read your white paper, I go and buy another tank or another dog, because I just think your approach is it seems like a winning formula to me. I think you need to build this ecosystem, right, where more money is coming in than going out, and that's a very tough thing, I think, to balance. But when I'm placing my bets on you guys, you're my favorite to succeed at this time. So yeah, thanks for answering the question.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it inside of our like economic design. You see inside of our white paper, right? We really went for going for a system that is sustainable, because you can see games that have come out before that don't have like the proper foundations in order to support a project long term. And so yeah, it's really been some of our major goals actually is to make something that really does function fully, without needing money coming from nowhere. We really want to have a really active economic environment. Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
seen what's happened to Axie Infinity? And that I think it was mainly the Philippines played it, and it was like something like 70% of the player base was in Philippines, whereas obviously where they could earn more than they could going to work by playing Axie Infinity, and it kind of, I think, destroyed the game itself, because it just had lots of players taking all the money out. Have you got a way of have you thought about that potentially happening? Is there, if you're looking at maybe back doors where this could happen and trying to close those?
Yeah, so one of the primary ways that people can earn is by having a pass, right? And the only people that can get passes are people that are holders, and we may have some other methods eventually. Oh, 1 second. Yeah, and so we have a system.
Sorry, I have to go, guys. I have another meeting, so but I'll let you guys to it. Thanks a lot for listening, and if there's any more questions, just let us know in the Discord channel. Cheers.
See ya. Bye. But we're staying around. It's just an idea that's going. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so you have to have a pass in order to really properly earn with tokens, and because season passes are controlling the outflow of tokens, or the consumption of tokens, we can use that to limit and control the amount of money that's moving around. It's one of the reasons we chose the system we did, and using a pass system like this, because yeah, it gives us a lot of control, and it lets us course correct if we see things starting going wrong. The problem with Axie Infinity is that it was very difficult to course correct once they got moving. A lot of the outflow happened just in the middle of just normal play.
Okay.
Yeah, the weapons that we have give us a lot more ability to be able to drive the economy in certain directions if we need it. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I've got all the confidence in the world in what you guys are doing, so that's really really good to hear. Thanks. I think that's probably it from me. I will just say on the PFPs, I also like the art. It's just I was confused because there's maybe this cyborg mutation, and I thought I took that as possibly you guys heading towards more of the generic PFP style, like OK Bears, Cats on Crack, that kind of stuff, because over the last month or so, that's just really pumped. And I wondered if you were doing that in an attempt to bring in more, rather than more gamers, more NFT holders.
Ooh, the Cyberdogs. I don't know how much I could say about those. Really, they're sort of a legendary creature to us, somewhat actually. So,
well,
I'll probably leave it at that.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm intrigued. That's good enough. So thanks everyone. Congratulations on everything you've done so far. Looking forward to seeing more.
All right. See you later, mate. Thanks.
Thank you.
I think the best thing we can say about it, though, is that we are having a two-pronged approach with our PFPs in the game. So we are treating the PFPs as a project as well. So we are also just building features for the PFPs alone, and they will always have some interaction with the game, of course.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, I know we went almost twice as long as I think we had originally planned, which is always a great sign. Want to thank the whole team for being here to answer questions, being so transparent and having such a great conversation, and everyone for tuning up today, asking questions and listening in. Highly, highly, highly encourage you to join the Panzerdogs Discord if you're not already there. Follow all these lovely folks who are up on the stage chatting, and embed yourself in the community and make your voice heard. And you might learn a thing or two, and you might make changes to the game intentionally or unintentionally that end up affecting other folks because you've got such great feedback. Just before we say goodbye, do any of the Panzerdog folks, do you have anything you want to say before we wrap up here?
Just a quick reiteration. Yeah, projects. The leaderboard. The contest is still going. We have it's a ticket system. Anyone can get involved. Don't have to have an NFT to get involved. Everyone has a chance of winning prizes. You just got to play for a while and earn some tickets. And yeah, you can have a blast.
Awesome.
I think that's
it. Yeah, awesome. But I 100% encourage it. Everyone, fractal.is/Panzerdogs. Participate, win something. If you're playing it all today, then I guarantee you'll play with or against me, and I won't take it personally when you blow me up. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Have an amazing rest of the week. Make sure you follow all of these folks and stay tuned for continued AMAs and future events. We really appreciate everyone being here. But that is it for now. Have a great rest of the afternoon, evening, morning, whatever time zone you may be in, and we will all chat again soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.